How would you describe your current kind of interest and engagement with the world?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most dynamic and exciting times that we know of in history to be alive. I mean, every point in history is unique in its own right, but this is an incredibly dynamic time because we have a convergence of so many core fundamental philosophies that are coming together, both in the realms of philosophy and the exploration of consciousness, and then in and around AI and advanced computing and what we're doing with technology. And it seems like there's also a tremendous cultural shift that's taking place. And so all at the same time, this massive convergence is happening. And so I'm interested in all of it and how those pieces come together and how we can help usher in a more positive and more beautiful world for everybody.
Can you share with us what sparked your interest in ayahuasca and what happened when you first experienced the ceremony, perhaps?
Well, my original interest in ayahuasca came from an awakening and calling that I had to go to Peru in my early 20s. And I came down here seeking an apprenticeship. Whether, that would happen or not, I didn't know. And I went ultimately deep into the forest and participated in my first ayahuasca ceremony. And I had very little to go on at that time. There was very little known about it and very few people talking about it. So I had very limited knowledge of what I was getting myself into. And I happened to ultimately go deep into the forest with a shaman. We collected and created ayahuasca, prepared ayahuasca together. And then he and I sat down on a riverbank, very far away from any other kind of external support, and ultimately was a very massive experience. And so in my first ayahuasca ceremony, it was an incredibly intense experience over about 6 hours. And at the end of it, I had visions that I had found my apprenticeship. I had found where I was going to live and train. And all of that ultimately came true. I was literally 500 yards from Julio Llerena Pineda's house, who ended up being the grand elder who brought me in and started to train me. And so those visions from that ceremony ultimately came true.
How does that initial calling then unfold into becoming an ayahuasquero? So could you walk us through that process a little bit? How did you go about seeking that or doing that or accomplishing that?
During the time of the first calling, it was same question I had. I was going into vision and into trances and getting direction and guidance. And, ultimately I was told to just go on an adventure. And at the end of the adventure, I would find the apprenticeship. That was easier said than done. The adventure part was pretty easy. Getting the people to convince to actually train me was a lot harder.